Federica, you're originally from Italy. You've lived in Greece and in Amsterdam. Why are you in Northern Ireland?
So it happened, Michael, I think 11 years ago, almost 12. And I was in Italy at the time. I was teaching modern Greek language and literature at an Italian university. But I thought, the academic life was not really right for me. So I started looking for some other jobs, but there was the economic crisis at the time. And modern Greek is not, let's say, the language everyone wants to study or to learn anyway. So I found a job in a call center in Belfast. I didn't know anything about Belfast, and just book a flight, basically. So I came here and I started working in service delivery for some years. And in corporate business, for some years I worked in quality assurance as well, and in corporate intelligence for a while. So that's the beginning of the story, really.
And where are you originally from in Italy? How does it compare to Belfast?
You see, this is a question I usually ask my students of Italian, but to answer the first part of your question, Michael, I'm from Venice, but to be very honest with you, I say from Venice because it's easier and it's prettier in a way, but I am actually from a city called Mestre, which is 5 minutes away from Venice, so I'm not too dishonest there, let's say. And so my dad actually was born in Venice, and my mom's family is from the Dolomites, so the mountains, So I'm this product, this combination of mountains meeting the lagoon, in a way, So how does Italy or Venice compare to Northern Ireland? There are lots of stereotypes, okay? But I would say, one is about coffee. So in Italy, for example, you go for an espresso, right? Takes you 2 minutes, you stand, you drink it, and then you're out of the bar. We call it bar, even if we drink coffee there, So you spend €1 usually, a little bit more, and that's you. While here, coffee seems more of a ritual in a way. So we have this long Americano, thank God, because the espresso, wouldn't last, an hour or an hour and a half, and a lot of conversations, over it, for example. But I'm thinking about, socializing as well. So in Italy, we usually need a town square to socialize. You would walk in the town square, meet some people, meet them again, meet new people, and start conversations. While here, I've always been interested in the pub, and the people that meet there, and it's quite a democratic environment in a way, because you have people from different genders, and backgrounds and so on, and a drink can be a conversation starter as well. So there are many things. That could be compared or not, and who cares really.
I'm also very interested in pubs, like you. One of the things that drew me to this place. Speaking of coming to Northern Ireland, what has been your experience settling here with the people, with the culture? How have you been accepted in?
So I think for 3 years at least, I just wanted to run away. Okay, I just wanted to run away from Northern Ireland. I was not happy here. And mainly, Michael, it was, I think, about the job I was doing, because in corporate business, I learned so much, and I will be, forever grateful for what I learned there. But I felt, for the first years that, I could have been anywhere doing exactly the same job. There was no link to the territory. And so, I was not feeling fulfilled in a way. So what kept me here really were people. And the first person was Rosa, my wife, that I met here, but she is the biggest ever fan of Northern Ireland. And she's lived here, coming from Sicily. She's lived here for the past 22 years. Okay, so her love became contagious at some point. But some good friends, of course, from, all possible countries living here. But mainly I would say my students, because whenever I started teaching, which is my, big passion of mine, I've taught Latin and ancient Greek and modern Greek, but mainly I teach Italian, really. And, getting to know the people from here as well, and, teaching them, and teaching for me is an act of sharing. So I find it really sort of magic that very moment I know and I can teach you exactly what you're looking for. I find it, quite moving. And I find it's an exchange all the time. I give you something, but you give something back to me. And I've received so much from them that I fell in love with the place as well, because the place is people for me.
So you've become a fan of the craic, it sounds like.
Absolutely, craic, absolutely. So yeah, Northern Irish craic.
Do you find that personality, that sense of humor quite different than Italy? Are there similarities?
Oh, just the same, I would say. It's just the same, really. I don't know if it's maybe the island of the north, but it's in a way, the sense of humor is so similar, and we really laugh about the same things, which makes life much easier. Whenever you laugh about the same thing, life is much more beautiful, I would say, and easier.
Very true. And talking about, bringing Northern Ireland and Italy together, you're the Honorary Consul for the Italian government here in Northern Ireland. What's it like to represent your country here?
Yeah. So, so I've been the Honorary Consul, the Italian Honorary Consul to Northern Ireland for the past 5 or 6 years. And it feels like a much longer time, I have to say, maybe because of Brexit and the COVID as well. So as an honorary consul, I'm not career diplomat. I'm not paid, I am a volunteer. As I have to say, Michael, almost all the others, I guess, honorary consuls from other countries as well. So it is, the service I provide to Italian nationals living here. For example, it's about procedures, right? So I take the fingerprints, the biometric data, as we call it, to issue or renew a passport, or something that can seem a bit strange. But for example, older people, older Italian nationals would come here to the office so that I can certify that they're still alive, so that they can continue to receive a pension from the Italian government. A new baby is born, for example. So I can give the instructions on how to register the baby's birth. In a similar way, even if completely different, somebody dies and maybe sometimes they need help with the procedure to take the ashes maybe back to Italy. So it's a variety of things and of roles, but for me it's about people. And as a people, we Italians, I feel that we have lost faith in our institutions a little bit. So putting people first for me is a sort of mission, within this role. And I still remember I had been, just appointed, maybe it was a month after. And among the first emails, I was all excited, I can answer the first emails. And among them, there was an email sent by an Italian living here, an older person, and the subject was Consul, console me. And it was a sort of word pun that worked very well in Italian, but it was also for me this thing about the role and the person, the service and the empathy, and with the limited means I have at my disposal, it is what I try to do. And also I'm part of the CANI, which is the Consular Association of Northern Ireland, and with the other consuls we have a lot of honorary consuls, but also a few consuls general. We have organized a lot of events, for example, for Brexit and, the settlement scheme to help the EU nationals and their families. And, I've always found, I have to say, a very welcoming atmosphere there with the Consulate General in Edinburgh and also with the Italian Institute of Culture in Edinburgh. We've been organizing a variety of events for the Italian community, but also for our friends. For example, people, the locals, as we define them, but also people, among our students who, as they say, love all things Italian. Poetry readings, concerts of Italian music. There was the Italian Carnival for children, and I remember that once. Years ago now, we even organized a day dedicated to grandparents and grandchildren with traditional street games from Italy, and we all play together.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I want to switch gears just a little bit here. So I feel comfortable saying you're an activist. You're also a linguist, and you've got a presence in digital media and podcasts as well. Can you talk about some of those things that you're involved in, if you can summarize that?
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. I mean, this is something else that I do. So apart from, working as a teacher, my week is usually split into two halves. And in the second half, I work as a life coach. So I am a qualified business and life coach and an NLP practitioner. And more recently, I've qualified as a Jay Shetty coach. So NLP is Neuro-linguistic programming, which is really, in a nutshell...
You're going to have to explain.
Yes, I know. It's really about, to understand the link between our thoughts and our language. So how our language reflects the way we think, and how by tweaking our language, even a wee bit, we can improve the way we think, and we can be more fulfilled in a way and change our behavior and live a happier, more fulfilled, more complete life, whatever you want to call it. So I've been working, I am also a qualified restorative practitioner. So I've been working a lot with Professor Tim Chapman, who is the chair of the European Forum for Restorative Justice, and also visiting professor of restorative justice in Scotland and Italy as well, on different projects about restorative justice and coaching and NLP. So restorative justice is really about, promoting to connect people, I would say, to promote just and respectful relationships among them. And I remember I met Tim a few years ago whenever he started studying Italian with me. And, as usual, whenever he learned some Italian, I asked him, right, Tim, so what do you do in your life, in Italian? And he talked about restorative justice, and I had no idea what it was. So I got so fascinated by it that we started working together. And I think the most amazing experience, Michael, about that was really to enter Maghaberry prison here in Northern Ireland. I've been a few times to Hyde Bank, but we worked on a project in Maghaberry prison with a group of guys that incorporated some elements of restorative justice, the Italian language, so a foreign language, and also drama. So we brought an Italian actor, Stefano Panzeri, from Italy, and we worked together, produced a documentary, and we showed it first in Maghaberry to the guys who said, oh, well, Federica, this is better than Netflix. I mean, they were really happy to see themselves on screen. But also, we brought it to the Crescent Arts Centre here. And, I think 250 people came to watch it. For me, it was already a success, really. So, it is about, Michael, at the end of the day, for me, it is about empowering people. It is about gently challenging people to play bigger. Because I have the feeling that in life, what happens is, especially if you belong to certain categories, women, LGBT, QIA+, people with a disability, older people, migrants, ethnic minorities, horrible labels, by the way, what you're asked to do, or sometimes what you're even taught to do, is to play small as it gets, and to be very reasonable, to be very wise, to be very sensible. While, I would say you change people's minds through conversations. And in these conversations, what you do is you challenge them, whoever you have in front of you, to play a wee bit bigger.
You're doing a great job because you took my next question out of my hands, so that makes my job easier. Can you tell us about Radio Vibe and Bonacera Belfast?
Yes. So Radio Vibe is a product of the lockdown. So it is a podcast radio that with a group of friends we created during lockdown. And so Vibe stands for Voices of Italians or about Italy in Belfast. We have a board of people who are all Italian or fluent in Italian. And we created some series. You know, the first one was really about ethnic minorities, you know, some series of interviews to some people from different ethnic backgrounds living here in Belfast. Fantastic, inspiring. And Buonasera Belfast is really a little show that Rosa, my wife, and I have. Little podcast where we either interview Italians who have lived here for a while. So the most, amazing professions, you know, from the musician to, you know, the doctor, you have a variety of people. But also a little series, this time in Italian and not in English, interviewing members of the LGBT community, Italian, who have visited Belfast and asking them, you know, it's quite a niche, program, but what they think about this and to talk about themselves. And we discovered some fantastic people. I have to say, we even rediscovered some fantastic friends that we have.
Federica, is there anything you don't do?
Okay. You see, whenever before you said I'm an activist, I would never say that because, no, thank you. Because it's a great compliment, you know, but.
I wouldn't want to be called that, so.
For me, Michael, it's, you know, I know activists, some great friends, and like people that we need really, you know, to change the law, for example, to change, you know, how things are. But my ways are usually more quiet in a way. My tiny, really tiny, like microscopic revolution is really a quiet one. And you know, something that I really don't do apart from activism is specializing in something. And I know we talked about that the first time we've talked together, which is the Western society seems to love people who are specialized in one thing and, you know, spending all their life on one subject, one aspect of something, promoting, you know, doing one job, promoting one product. We need the experts. So I'm very grateful that we have them for everything, you know, on earth. But I had to come to terms with the fact that I'm not like that. I love interdisciplinarity. I love creating a safe space for people, for resources, for topics to meet all together and to, you know, make them independent, to ask them to take ownership of who they want to become and what they want to do together.
Well, I'm very glad that you're like that. I think working in silos doesn't work. So we're very glad to have you here in Belfast. Last question. You've been here for some time now. How Hereish do you feel now?
Okay. This is a challenging question. You see, for every Hereish, there's a there-ish, in my opinion. So every single time I get out of a flat, you know, in the morning and I'm like, oh gosh, you know, I'm part of this place, feels so cool and blah, blah, blah. There's always somebody asking me, where's this wee accent from, love? And I'm like, oh, you know, end of a dream. And for every single time I go back to Italy and I hear a sort of neologism, you know, a new word coming up in the language. And I say, oh, do we use this now? You know, there's always somebody saying, yeah, but of course, you know, you can't know because you've lived away for so long. So, you know, for every Hereish, there's a there-ish. But for every Hereish and there-ish, there is an everywhere-ish. Because it's like being a snail with a shell. You know, in this shell, on my back, on our back, maybe, we have memories from the past, projects for the futures. We have, you know, sense, we have feelings, we have people, relationships, affection. And potentially, I could travel with that everywhere. You know, whenever people ask me, where's home? I feel it's not a very useful question. I feel we could have other questions to ask people like, I don't know, how have you been today? How are you? What can I do to make you smile? How can I help?
So would you say it's neither here nor there?
Yeah, it's everywhere.